there was a receipt of letter by the Virginia Association of Loggers, which triggered a discussion. The General Assembly had passed given the local option to counties to consider exempting forestry equipment. This is equipment that's involved in the forestry harvesting portion. The Loggers Association brought that to our attention. The board directed Mr. Gregg and I to advertise for a public hearing, which is being considered tonight. Just a recap of some of the information, we gave you the rough estimate of fiscal impact. So it represents about $15,000 of revenue that we are currently showing. Mr. Daniel, who I think, yep, he's here tonight, did some research for us as far as our neighboring counties. And as you can see in the board report, after reviewing that, the counties of Orange, Green, and Rappahannock do not tax forestry equipment, while the counties of Page and Culpeper do. There was a draft ordinance, or there is a draft ordinance included in your packet, and I believe that ordinance number should be number 2 for the year, but that is there for you to consider should you want to act on this item tonight. With that said, I don't know if Mr. Gregg has anything he wishes to add.
Very briefly, the Commonwealth of Virginia enabled localities to exempt equipment used in silviculturing and harvesting forest products. What we are doing, or what is proposed, is in line with what many of our neighbors and the overall trend across the state.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't know, I mean, our commissioner certainly administers the program, whether he has any questions or thoughts for the board tonight as well.
No questions or thoughts there, Commissioner?
We're good.
All right. Does the board have any comments before we open it up to the public?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have some comments, and they relate to the comments that I made initially at the last meeting where this was actually presented. I've had a chance to do some research and speak with some folks in the logging industry, and I sympathize with their plight. Just like the rest of us, they're fighting all these increased fuel costs. They're a basic industry to this county, and they work hard in a very dangerous industry, and I think we need to support them. I'm going to go to the flip side, and this addressed my earlier argument. We are giving up some tax revenue, and the my philosophy on this is the supply side, free market person is that I think this is actually going to be an investment in our logging community, and if we can help these folks survive and flourish, they're going to expand eventually. They're going to buy more road vehicles, more equipment, and I think that in 5 to 10 years we will actually see a positive return with regard to tax revenue if we adopt this policy. So as of now, I'm in favor of this policy of the exemption.
Anybody else have any comments?
Well, I guess I'll add my comments right now, and I appreciate Mr. Jewett's perspective on this, and as I said before, our comprehensive plan supports this. Our first goal in the whole comprehensive plan talks about agriculture and forestry being our primary industries in the county of Madison, so I too am in support of it. And at this point,
Anybody else? All right, let's open it up to the public. Come to the podium, identify yourself, and tell us what you think.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the Board of Supervisors, I'm Ron Jenkins. I'm from Goochland County. I serve as Executive Director of the Virginia Loggers Association and proudly represent Madison County loggers who are here tonight. Can I ask you all to stand so we can at least get an idea of the amount? Thank you. Thank you very much. Just to add to Mr. Jewett's comments, I appreciate that he reached out to me, and I hope that our effort to help him understand went the distance that he was hoping for. I know that you have spoke to others, and I'm really deeply grateful for you doing that, and others as well. I know some other folks did that. I have brought with another handout, and I hope they'll share it with you. I'll just keep my comments brief, trying to think that I might be able to determine what you're thinking now. It seems very positive, and I'd like to say thank you for that. I'd like to echo a comment that Mr. Jewett made. And sometimes when you think as a free enterprise person, and we all do, these folks know business real well, that it is an investment. It is a reduction from this source for taxes. But when they can reinvest and keep their business going and pass it on to new generations, and I know I met Andy Dean this week. I went to a logging site with him, and he's third generation. And I believe that Mr. Gentry, the third generation, or
Yes, sir.
and there's probably others that may be beyond that. This whole entire industry depends upon the families just like them. There are no large corporations that can handle this type of work. And you're exactly right. It's still considered one of the most dangerous jobs by OSHA. So I don't know what comparison they make, U.S. or national or in the world, but it is a very dangerous job, even with mechanized logging. But I know for a fact that there are folks here in this area who have lost their lives just recently, within the last couple of years. So my sympathy and empathy and love for all of you go out, because I know a family's right here that's had a loss. I know the Sis family had a loss. So it is extremely dangerous. Yet they go out every day, they work hard, they put their lives on it, they love what they do, or they wouldn't try to pass it on. So we ought to just say, thank God for them. They're here, and hopefully we'll have fiber and wood for the future. And I'm going to say thank you, and I hope that you'll vote in favor.
Other public comment?
Good evening. I'm Teresa Woodward with Incorporated, and I would like to begin by thanking you for the opportunity to have the forestry tax considered for exemption. After the last meeting, I reached out to other counties as well, and I was able to see how they had approved the tax exemption, to see how it had impacted their budget and how they were able to achieve this revenue. And the counties that I spoke to haven't had any issues achieving this revenue. The counties were different sizes, population. Some were smaller, some were larger. There was one county that was pretty close to our population. They were around 12,000 some. We're around 13,000 some. And they had a loss of $60,000. And they were able to achieve this loss without placing any burden on any taxpayers. So I felt good about that, because, you know, I wanted to try to think of ways too that we weren't putting a burden on other taxpayers. And so some of the ways, when I was doing a little research and trying to think through the process, was the sales tax. The revenue has increased with the cost of goods and inflation. And then we have online ordering now, and there was a tremendous amount of that during COVID, which sales taxes received from that. So if you do online ordering within the county, and you don't go outside to the box, you know, the big box stores to get your merchandise, and you're doing it within the county, then you're actually getting a percentage of that tax back in the county. So that has really helped. Also, the food trucks, the food and beverage tax that we see there, you know, we don't have a lot of brick and mortar restaurants in our county, but the food trucks have brought in additional revenue, the festivals, and then also the Airbnb, the transit occupancy tax. That has been a huge, you know, with the COVID, a lot of people are doing that more than doing the bigger vacations. They like having the, you know, the B&Bs so they can have them more secluded. Also, we know it, you know, going to be coming, the revalue of vehicles due to COVID, the NADA, all used vehicles are going up with this chip shortage we had, so therefore there'll be more revenue on that aspect. And then I know you all mentioned the cigarette tax at the last meeting, And I kept it at the bottom of the list, but I did reach out to some other counties, and they said that a lot of them are charging 15 to 25 cents on the cigarette tax, but it's my understanding Madison is charging 40 cents. So, that's producing a lot of extra income and revenue there. And so it seems there are multiple ways to achieve this revenue without placing a huge burden on other taxpayers within the county. And our goal is not to place the burden on other taxpayers, but to keep these small businesses in our county and to continue to keep jobs and economic growth within our community. I am hopeful as you review this exemption, you see there are other ways to achieve this revenue. By making this investment, and that word's been said a lot tonight, it is truly an investment. For small businesses in forestry, it outweighs the revenue loss to keep these businesses in our county. Also, it seems Madison County is very supportive of agriculture, which is farmers and loggers, by having them in the comprehensive plan, which was recognized at the last meeting, and I think Mr. Yao just spoke of that as well. So I'd like to thank you again for your time and consideration, and thank you all, for just putting this on the table to consider. But I think, the small businesses are really looking for any way they can save right now, keep their head above the water, because we are being faced with very difficult, challenging times, and I think all of us in our personal lives as well. So thank you again, and have a great evening.
Other public comment? Other public comment? All right, call the public hearing on the exemption for forestry equipment closed. What would everybody like to do here? We do have an ordinance in front of us, ordinance, is it number two?
It should be number 2, and just for further clarity, and thank you, Mr. Gregg, for putting this together. Looking at our ordinances, or our codification, which is the process you're considering tonight, Article 11 is where your taxation of certain tangible personal property currently exists. Section 24-280 was where the reservation portion started, so that's where Sean thought it was adequate. So if approved here tonight, that's where it would go in your.
Just number 2, is it 2 dash?
Just -2 is what I believe you said. 2022, excuse me, 20.
That sounds.
2022 dash.
I agree.
Lot of twos.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance.
No, please go ahead.
Ordinance 2022-2.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Yeah. Mr. Daniels?
What effective date do you want?
It is effective, so thank you, for raising the awareness of that. So Sean has that listed, so it will be effective upon enactment. So we'll cover this current year that we're in. Starting immediately, excuse me.
All right. Other questions? All right. Hearing no more discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go. Thank y'all.
Thank you.